Development Agency, April board meeting. Once again, we received our minutes. Is there any additions and or corrections?
No, sir.
Motion to approve, please.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Treasurer's report.
Starting on page 19, we have the detail of the balance sheet for March 31st. Looking at the unrestricted side of it, you can see our cash position is a little under $300,000. We have some marketing cash that we will be talking about at some point. In the accounts receivable, we have $32,000 receivable in pilots that are past due. That is the Buckley building and the FedEx building out in the corporate park. We just can't seem to get any place on it. But in any event, we'll keep trying. Total current assets, $407,000. Our other assets, primarily the fixed assets for property and so on, $719,000. Airport property at $545,000. I've been doing some analysis of that. We've spent nearly $300,000 in environmental expenses on that. Right now, our cost per acre out there overall is a little over $5,700, and it's still climbing. But we can't do anything about that. Total assets, $1,000,001 unrestricted. Total assets with the restricted funds, $7.6 million. Liabilities, we have virtually nothing. The accounts payable pilot, of course, is offset by the receivable. Current liabilities, $46,000. You compare that to current assets, we're about a 9-to-1 ratio on a current ratio, so that's as we should be. We're in pretty good shape. Fund balance for unrestricted is $873,000, which is a little misleading because the stream column and the RBEC column are also unrestricted funds, actually. But total fund balance for the corporation is $7.3 million, pretty healthy. Questions or comments?
Is the flour mill equipment different than the North Country Farm stuff? We said, so that'll get removed on the next.
End of the year, that comes off.
Okay, the end of the year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Even though we did a resolution to remove it from the balance sheet.
Yeah.
All right. So that'll be a little misleading between now and.
Yeah. Another 6 months. Income statement on page 20. This is the total income, restricted and unrestricted. 25,000 income for the month, 804 for the year to date. If we look at the month's expenses, 71,000. We had a $46,000 loss from operations. However, year to date, we're still showing a positive 335,000. That's the timing of our fees coming in, as Michelle has pointed out in the past. We will probably come pretty close to budget by year end, unless we get some big projects and some more fees. The unrestricted is on page 21. Of course, we remove all of the loan funds and our income drops to 12,000 for the month, a little over $500,000 year to date. Expenses, 67,000. Primarily the administrative services fee is the main expense there. There is some building depreciation in there, which is non-cash, so that helps. But for the month, the $54,000 loss. Year to date, we're showing $108,000 plus. To be expected. The next 2 pages, this is the real balance sheet. We break it out to make it a little easier to understand. And going from there, we have supporting documents. And they're cash receipts, total loan receivable, all of the RLF, micro, pilot receivables, as I mentioned. Buckley was due January 1st. SunCap, they're about 60 days past due right now. Been in contact with any number of people, but we can't seem to get a check. So minor payables, nothing serious. Our cash disbursements, nothing unusual there. Went pretty fast. Does anyone have any questions?
Buckley Realty, isn't that Neighbors Watertown?
No, that's Mike Trainer.
That's Mike Trainer's
Okay.
group.
He is a problem constant. Going to page 32, the delinquent accounts in the RLF, Carthage Specialty Paper, of course, is still on interest only because of the subordination agreement we have with Key Bank. We have contacted them concerning the closure of the Lowville plant. I think as they indicated to David, it's not going to be a major problem.
Yeah, they said they've got some other customers lined up, and while they were a good customer, it's not gonna kill them.
On the micro accounts, we only have 2 this month. We've taken care of a number of them. Heroes Haven is a couple of months behind. He did make a payment in February, so I expect we'll get another payment from him. His balance is down $5,200, so it's getting close. Of course, he owes a life amount to the trust as well. Robo Spray is 5 months behind. I am to get at least 2 payments on the 13th of this month, and hopefully pay off that balance because they are in the process of selling the business. So nothing to be concerned about on the delinquent accounts at this point. Questions or comments?
Any questions on the treasurer's report?
When would we start taking action on Buckley then?
Well, that's a good question, John. There are some ramifications of not taking action, of course. As a board, it's your responsibility to take action or claw back the money, well, actually, in this case, it would be cancel the pilot. I don't know, I think we need some legal direction on this if we're going to do something. But,
Well, that is your remedy, basically.
yes,
is,
but you, if we're audited by the state, or even if we're not audited by the state, based upon the Paris reports that go in, you could get some criticism for not taking action. There's another problem with Buckley as well. If we cancel the pilot or do any kind of clawback, I believe he got a grant to do that, which probably would be clawed back by somebody else. I don't know. I think
So we start then it's gonna come tumbling down.
more than likely.
What's the total amount due, the 6,000, or is that just that monthly payment?
No, that's his annual pilot payment.
Okay.
His pilot payment is based upon a fixed amount
Mhm.
minus the special assessments. So that's his payment for a whole year, his total taxes. The Sun
That's
Cap,
payable on
Get
December
at my
1st.
house.
January 1st.
January 1st.
Um,
I would
October,
suggest that
it's in, yeah.
maybe Joe could send him a letter and very strongly advise him that
Yep.
we will be taking legal action if we don't receive it.
Now, with Sun Cap, I don't know, I've contacted the FedEx people who actually lease the building from American Realty or something. I contacted them. No one seems to know what's going on. We'll get it eventually, I think, but if we don't, we'll have to watch that one too.
We're 4 months into that, I wouldn't hesitate, you know, it's up to the board, but I wouldn't hesitate to have Joe send them a letter too. You know, they need to pay these taxes, these, you know, pilots on time.
I would almost define it, the timeline for this Buckley in 30 days. If we don't see something in 30 days, we're gonna take action or something.
You're already 90 days out, so
Yeah.
if that's that 120 days, I wish I could be that late on my
Right.
taxes.
30-day letter.
Well, you could, but you just lose your house, I guess.
You'll end up paying penalties and
Yeah.
interest and everything else.
Yeah, do we impose penalties, or are we generous and just say,
We-
pay it and you're good?
We have not in the past.
And do we have the right to impose a
I
penalty?
believe we do, yes.
Sure.
And I think it's a 6% penalty.
I suppose it just digs a hole deeper, but unfortunately, it's,
Well, this,
You can
I'll tell you
always
very
forget
frankly,
the
this is a
negotiations.
this is a pattern.
you have to
Mike
put
Trainer.
giveaways in, correct?
This is a pattern, Mike Trainer.
Well,
every year, and not only with us, and speaking with the people in Carthage, they have the same problem.
Yeah, that's the problem. The fear has always been that we pull this house of cards down and it has an impact around the area. But at some point, you gotta draw the line in the sand and say, hey, enough's enough.
You make an example of somebody and
Absolutely.
I would say
Otherwise,
time.
exactly, the lion has no teeth if we don't do
The
something.
penalties are written into the pilot agreements, correct?
Sure.
Yeah,
I
sure
would
they
say
are.
that, let's go to their respective agreements and, you know, if it says we give them a 6% penalty, that's probably what we should do then.
I think just having our council use
Can I
the
get a copy of
contract
that
that's
as well?
negotiated between the parties to our
Exactly.
benefit is within our rights. And as Don said, you can always negotiate something differently when you sit down, but you have to actually talk first. Two parties can only negotiate when both talk to each other.
Mike is not typically forthcoming when you try to
You don't sit down and talk.
negotiate.
So let's kind of formalize this if we would. I'd entertain a motion that we have council, you know, address both of these delinquent pilots and,
I think it's a good approach.
you know, as per the pilot agreements that are there.
Yeah, I'll make a motion, I'll take council's recommendation how that's worded,
Yes.
rather
Oh,
than me
that's-
state it, but,
Oh,
Yeah. Great.
that's why he gets paid the big bucks.
you got it.
It'll be worded strongly.
Oh, a big, more than a slap.
All caps?
Exclamation, no smiley faces.
If you've made a motion, I would second it.
Okay, I have.
Any other discussion on it?
No,
All
sir.
in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Good deal.
Just a note on Lyle's report. He was talking about the business park and the amount of money that you folks have thus far invested in bringing this to fruition. It's been an expensive and extensive process. And we're probably, I don't know, what'd you say, Lyle, approaching 600,000 now, total
Just under
dollars.
600 right now.
But I got a rude awakening day before yesterday. To give you an example, when people say, where do the fees go that the IDA collects on their pilots and that kind of stuff? Well, it goes to grass seed. 2 days ago, I got affirmation that this agency is going to have to spend $18,000 in grass seed for the 26 acres that we have grubbed now, being grubbed as we speak. But DEC requires that we put grass seed and then hay, another expense, on an area which we all know is going to be dug up here very shortly.
Jay can probably get you a good deal on hay, I'm guessing.
But, you know, it's that kind of an expense that we have to cover, all required, by the way, by another government agency. We have no choice in this matter, but to develop these kinds of things is terribly expensive. So just, you know, if you want to know how much grass seed costs, I can now fill you in on that. Let me know.
So on the treasurer's report, is there any further questions?
I just had a question on the pilot stuff, why isn't that like an automatic thing?
What do you
So
mean?
like if it's, you know, I'm 60 days out or 90 days out, automatically there's a letter generated by the attorney.
Well, it has been coming from Lyle.
It hasn't been a major problem, except with Mike. This sun cap, I think it's a confusion because of the size of the company. But we haven't had a major problem with a pilot in the past.
We're normally, I understand your point, Rich, you know, you'd almost think that would be an automatic. We've always had open dialogue with these people. I mean, it's been the minute we see what we think is an issue, we're on the phone to these folks and say, hey, where the hell are you on this deal? So it's been an automatic response to us, from us, but hasn't been in the form of a letter that's generated. And if this problem persists, then maybe we need to move in that direction. Haven't seen it so far, but it doesn't mean it wouldn't happen.
But, you know, a good example is on the delinquent accounts. We do have an automatic process.
Yeah.
And even in situations like that, I try to work with the people because we're not in business to put you out of business.
Sure.
So I do my best to work with them, and even in spite of the letter, we do the phone calls, try to make arrangements. With pilots, we can't make any arrangements, you know, it's due, this is what it is, this is due, pay it.
So do the taxing jurisdictions that receive some of these pilot funds call you a lot? If they're
Not
past
very
due?
often, surprisingly.
So
you know.
the taxing jurisdictions that should have also collected this money through us really aren't bothering you?
No, they haven't. so
Surprising.
far. They haven't so
With
far.
money so tight, I'm surprised every
Occasionally
nickel's
I'll
not
get
accounted
called,
for
yeah,
every.
But, not too often.
Well, part of this, Rob, is that, you know, we've been acting as the conduit for these funds for lots of years. I mean, it's 40-plus years now. Most of the professionals in these taxing entities have worked with us for
Well,
years
they know we're
and
good
years.
for it.
Well, no, we're gonna try.
But at the end of the day, I think in deference to what was voted upon, probably is the smart thing to do, because it's their money.
Absolutely true. It is absolutely.
We
true.
filter
I know.
it through our account, take a fee for processing it, but it's technically a school district's money, a county's money, and whatever
Exactly.
community.
We're simply the conduit.
On the treasurer's report, I'd entertain a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Thank you. No committee reports today. Unfinished business, Ben?
No, I think, as I mentioned to you, as a board, we have several projects now which are bubbling below the surface. They are all extremely important to the community, and we continue to work hard on them, but we're not yet in a position to present them to the board for action. So hopefully, by next month's meeting, we will, you know, be in a position to do that. We'll have to see how it plays out. But
Have we received any more guidance from the state with regards to policies and procedures? Where we're
Yes.
headed?
Good question, Dave. We have to, by the 15th of June, we have to revamp our entire policies and procedures to align with what's called the best practices across the state. And this is being driven by ABO and the Comptroller's Office and so on. We have most of that documentation pretty well in hand right now. What we are waiting for is that in May, IDAs across the state gather at their annual meeting in Cooperstown. And that board, the Economic Development Council of the state, will take action on the recommendations at that time. And in the meantime, each one of the LDCs, the IDAs, and those types of folks across the state are reviewing best practice. So when they come together for a board meeting, I sit on that board. In May, we'll approve the best practice language right down to the final period. And once we understand what that'll be, we'll then incorporate our documents. It'll obviously have to be reviewed by you folks, the committee, governance committee, and we'll have to have those implemented by the 15th of June. So we're watching that very carefully in terms of a timing.
That'll be a fast track then.
Yep, absolutely. But you've seen a lot of this already. Most of it, it's just plain good common sense, good business practice. I don't think you will find anything in there that you would jump up and down and say, boy, we don't want that to happen in our organization. I think it'll be all for the plus. In fact, just as a note for some of our new board members, I attended a meeting at the Comptroller's Office about 4 years ago now, along with some other IDA CEOs, asking for this type of adaptation of practice, because more often than not, in the last several years, we've been kind of having our own independent best practice, but that was spread amongst almost 200 IDAs across the state. So there wasn't really a standardized performance evaluation, where now we will have that standardization. And this is welcomed by the controller, this is welcomed by ABO, this is welcomed by the IDAs and our organization. So it's a really good step in the right direction, so we're not out there trying to wing it by ourselves.
All right. Counselor, you have anything for us here?
I can report that we closed on the WIC LDC lease extension last week and the pilot.
Very good.
But other than that, I have nothing.
Okay. Board members, anyone? I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
favor say aye.
Aye.